Welcome to ReOrganize, your go-to show for exploring the vibrant world of UP Cebu student organizations. Get inspired by real stories of passion and purpose, from the spotlight of performing arts to the strategy behind sports and everything in between. Whether you're looking for your next interest or just curious about what drives these dynamic orgs, you're in the right place. Stay tuned, only here on ReOrganize.
What is up, mga iskolar ng bayan? It's another Wednesday and you're with me, DJ Micah, and you are tuning into ReOrganize, your go-to program about everything related to UP Cebu's organizations and student groups. Only here at DYUP Cebu. Alright, so this semester we've seen almost all programs celebrate themselves, with each program having their own time to shine during their respective program week. And let me just say, and I think we can all agree on this, that it has been an eventful series of events as each program take turns in celebrating their own programs. So here's a rundown of everything that's gone down so far. We started off strong with where we got to see an array of craziness with their costumes during Crazy Week. Then the management tycoons didn't shy away from the spotlight as they brought out the heat and hype during the MC Olympics. We also had the Math Week as they celebrated their culmination on Pi Day, PolSci Week with their hackathon event, and Biostat Week series of quiz goals as they put their knowledge to the test. Just concluded as well Psych Week and our currently ongoing Come On Week. So with that palang, it sure has been eventful these past few months, and that's not yet even everything that happened during each program week. But one thing's for sure, pasabog yun ang dala sa bawat programa this year for their program week events. But at the end of the day, the main goal of each program week naman jud is to showcase the many talents and as well as the creativity of our escolars, which so far I would say has been a huge success. We can see how diverse each program is and how different we all are from each other, but at the same time how we can still come together as a community to enjoy and have fun. So more than that, they got to put on display their own niche as programs, their specialties, and what they're known for. And the best part, it was a time to enjoy and have fun, and as well as socialize with fellow members in our respective programs, since majority of us didn't have classes during our specific program week. So it was a time for us to take a breather and to rest for a week. And indeed, it was a celebration of UPC's diverse communities, and there is surely more to come. Speaking of more to come, since almost all programs ay naka-celebrate na sa ilang program week, next week, mga kauban, UPPSS na pod ang magpakitang gilas sa ilang mga ganap for PolSci Week. So don't leave just yet, mga kauban, because when we come back, we will be joined by Lief Fiel.
Mahalagang paalala, ang DYUP Cebu ay hindi gamot at hindi ginagamit na panggamot sa kabaliwan, kakulitan at karupukan. Ito po ay radyo lamang, ngunit mas maaasahan pa kaysa sa jowa mong nangiiwan. Pakinig sa DYUP Cebu at siya ay iyong makakalimutan.
Uy, Sarah! Nakabasa ko sa Facebook na wala na daw klase karong simana. O-share na ko dayon para dagan makabalo.
Halagab, sigurado ka? Asa man ka nakakuha, ana?
Ako mga friends, ragod. Daghan naman ni share, ani. Wala pa di ka kakita.
Nah, Gab, diha ra ba sa social media, daghan ra ba magpakalat og fake news? Ayaw tuod diretso sa bisan unsang balita na imong makita. Siguraduha sad nga masaligan ang source ug pangita og dugang ebidensya.
Aw, unsa may buhaton ako para maligin ang pagpakatag og sayo impormasyon.
Uy, sus ka sayo Raan na. Una, basaha og maayo ug tan-awa kung asa gikan ang balita. Ikaduha, i-check sa mga opisyal nga news sites o government pages. Unya, ayaw dayon pag-share kung walay klarong ebidensya.
Sakto jud ka, Sarah. Isip mga eskolar ng bayan, tukiyon na tugtarong ang mga makita nato online. Dapat, gamiton nato ang social media sa pagsilya og matinud-anon nga impormasyon. This reminder is brought to you by Com110B and the attorney Ian Manticahon, UP Cebu, Kao.
UP, kaurban mo.
Time check. It's 1:43 p.m. and you are still listening to ReOrganize, only here at UP Cebu. Now we are joined with UP Political Science Society Chairperson Lief Fiel. So hi Lief, would you like to introduce yourself to all our listeners?
I'm the Chairperson of the UP Political Science Society, the sole academic program organization of the Political Science degree program.
So thank you for that, Lief. It's good to have you here. I want to start with none other than the tribes or ang mga tribo karong PolSci Week. Asa manigikan ang pag-form sa upat ninyo ka tribes, and if you could introduce each tribe as well to our listeners.
Right, so the tribal system that we currently have for Political Science Week is definitely coming from our own experiences in the classes as well. So if people are not aware, we have a particular professor, attorney Arshel Capistrano, who introduces a unique system to our classes, not only to PolSci students but also to all classes that she handles in other programs as well. And it's divided by her acronym, which is GAHOM. So we have the GASA Council, where all of the tribal leaders are there, and the groups are AMGO, Ulma, Ugman, and Muna. That's how she explains GAHOM. So what we wanted to try differently this Political Science Week, we wanted students not to be with their batches alone. We wanted to maximize engagement and being in your community. So we wanted them to be grouped according to their tribu, which all of them are already assigned as a way of bringing homage to that unique experience that you can only get here in UP, but also as a way to make sure there's cross engagement across different seniors and freshies.
That's good to know. So I also want to ask about your theme, which your PubMat so far are filled with an array of vibrant games. So would you like to share what your theme actually is for this incoming week, and why did you choose to anchor your theme on games?
Right, so the theme is actually a fun one. This is the most deliberated one we had during our planning for this event. So Jacques and Poi just goes back to childhood nostalgia games, because we wanted to bring homage to what it means to be a Filipino according to our cultural aesthetics and experiences. So we draw this back when, during our first month, the opening theme that we had was about public markets in the Philippines. So we wanted to bring homage to what's going on right now in the carbon market district with the ongoing privatization, and how we want to try and protect and resist against the current attempts to modernize, which displaces, of course, the vendors that we have there in carbon market district. So we wanted to go back there, but of course we wanted to bring another angle, which we came up with Jack and Boy, which talks about how during when we were kids, maybe you played Pogs, maybe you played with Dampa, or maybe you had this unique fixation towards Pokemon items and collectibles from mga anik-anik when we were kids. And these are unique experiences that you can find after school, especially if you live near these public spaces. Me personally, when I was in a Catholic school during my elementary years, we would always pass through the public market, and all of these different memories of this childhood Pinoy nostalgia goes back to these public spaces. And that is a way in which we wanted to assert our aesthetic not only as a fun theme, but also as a way of reminiscing towards the campaign that we have for these public spaces. And just to really add on to that, the reason why Jacques and Boy is because we go back to how Bato topic is played, and we try to connect this to the way that our struggle against elite capture, our struggle against dynastic politicians and corruption is just quite like that game where it's always at odds and it's always a gamble, but we continue to play it as a way of trying to reflect on our story.
So it's interesting to know that your theme is truly anchored on what we call out for here in the University of the Philippines. So it isn't just for the aesthetics at all. There's truly something more that we get to uncover. So what's something new this year that didn't really happen last year? So what are we gonna be expecting in terms of the events?
Right, for these week's events, we wanted to go more and try to maximize certain engagement. So we did try to introduce ball games for this week's around. We also tried to reintegrate new academic events. So we have essay writing as a way of trying to go forward. And as of this week, we are going to pushing forward with community extension events such as a basic masses exposure in order for us to truly understand the way our masses are interpreting the issues right now. What we have ongoing is a BMX with piston, especially with the relevant issue of the ongoing oil price hike. But beyond that, we also are going to implement a Kilos workshop. So Kilos workshop is a event that we will be holding with youth, high school students, so that we could give them the ability and the skills to organize projects and initiatives similar to the community projects that we have in our NSTP classes, as a way of providing them the necessary skills and techniques for them to also help their own communities. And just as an activity for our students as well, we're introducing debate as the quote-unquote flagship for our closing program, where it's not really about the competition we see in debate like UPC Lantugi does during their championships, but we want them to be quote-unquote entertaining. At the same time, we want them to be compelling in a way that is fun but also life-changing.
So I'm really intrigued to hear about your events. I would like to ask you, also for those who are interested, are these events exclusively for PolSci students, or are there any that are open for the other programs to join?
Well, most definitely our competitions are for the Chibus, that they're able to have that sense of competition as we gear up for CAPS Olympics this May. But definitely our Polytalks, which we will have one this Friday, the community immersion that we will have this Sunday, and of course the closing program that we'll have this next week Friday is definitely open to everybody, because we want the opportunity to learn, we want the opportunity to hear, the opportunity to be exposed to these type of life-changing opportunities to be open to all.
So you heard that right there, Scholars. So PolSci Week is having events that are open to all of us. So I hope we take on the chance to broaden our horizons and learn new things. So for my final question regarding PolSci Week preparations, as the UPPSS chairperson, how's the preparation going for you? Have you been preparing for quite some time, or was this something that came together more recently?
Yeah, we thought about this just about a month ago, and a lot of the preparation was quite crazy because we had to try to anticipate when the intramurals would be held. We had to anticipate the other weeks from the other programs as well, and we also had to anticipate us joining CAPS. So definitely the planning had quite some time, and just this week we're finally seeing everything fall together, and I hope that by the end of this weekend everything is now in place for us to commence Political Science Week 2026.
I would have to insert one more final question. If you could describe this year's PolSci Week in just a word, what word would that be?
Right. That's not a question I did not prepare for. Pero definitely one word that I would describe Political Science Week. It has to be life-changing.
Life-changing. So let's stay tuned for that for the next week's PolSci Week. Thank you so much for sharing these with us, Fiel. Lief. Before we end, as it is fitting, as the UPPSS chair, we have a few questions related to the upcoming UP Cebu University Student Council elections, if that's okay with you.
Definitely, that's fine.
So, through the years, there has been a decrease of students participating in the elections. The Student Council was and is composed of candidates mainly from NKE, In terms of voting, students from certain programs participate less. Despite the 79.64% voter turnout in the last elections, not a lot of students participated in the programs before the election, such as the Meeting de Avance per se. Don't you think it's ironic? We as scholars ng bayan pride ourselves in being socio-politically aware. We call for a just government. We demand proper representation in the local and national level. We oppose political dynasties, but here in the university, we can't even participate in our council elections. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, one thing is for sure, UP is a microcosm society. Well, you have to expand your thought about it for you to get an answer. So for example, I am assuming that you're from Cebu as well, right? Are you from Cebu? Okay.
No, I'm actually from Mindanao, but
You're from
Mindanao.
Yeah, okay. So how often do you engage with the local politics in your province in Mindanao? Perhaps not that as much, right? Maybe we can talk about national issues, but we don't necessarily talk about our local issues from our own provinces. The reason why I'm talking about that is that I think the lack of student participation is not necessarily that students don't care about issues with women, issues with our jeepney drivers, or issues with the Philippines. It's just that I think students don't necessarily see themselves or don't necessarily have anything to take away from interfering or participating in student elections in general. It doesn't mean that we don't want good leaders. It doesn't mean that we don't want good representation. But I think it's because students don't necessarily have an attachment to a particular institution that they probably have not felt or they probably have not interacted with much as in the past few years. So I think when it comes to declining participation, it's definitely one of institution, not necessarily of the students alone. So I think students, in order for them to have a higher participation, there is more effort from organizations. There needs to be more effort from the student council themselves. And there has to be a reflection on what kind of culture are we building here in the University of the Philippines Cebu. Are organizations inclusive? Are organizations a place where students can fulfill or find meaning? Or are organizations too fixated on certain objectives that students don't find themselves to be a part of it?
So to cap it off with your response, how would you encourage the student body to be more involved in the entirety of the election process?
Well, definitely don't be discouraged. I think a lot of us are already discouraged just by seeing one state or one party running for politics. But I think that's not a thing that we should feel immediately sad about or something that we should immediately demonize, because it just reflects more opportunities for us to try and explore new ways of participating in democracy. So definitely, even if you feel like your vote has no power, continue to vote. And definitely, if you feel like there needs something to be changing, definitely believe in what our candidates are going to tell you. That you can talk to them and that you can approach them and try to let them know. And definitely, if you feel like you can do better, maybe this is also your opportunity for it.
So thank you so much for all your insights and as well as for the information that we just gained on next week's PolSci Week. So thank you so much once again. This has been DJ Micah, and you've been listening to ReOrganize. Don't forget to follow our social media accounts DYUP Sugbo on Facebook and DYUP Sugbo_UPC on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Tune in only here at DYUP Sugbo every Wednesday from 1 to 2 in the afternoon. Catch this episode only in our official Spotify account. Stay connected, stay engaged, stay reorganized.
This was ReOrganize, your go-to program that explores the vibrant world of student organizations here at UP Cebu. Until our next exploration, stay connected, stay engaged, stay reorganized.